Okay, so this week's Parsha is Parashas Vaeschanaan. Okay, Vaeschanaan is a big Torah portion. It's big by the number of verses and the topics. The topics in this week's Torah portion are unbelievable. They are essential. They are fundamental um, um, factors of Judaism, fundamental laws, fundamental concepts. I mean, just woo. I mean, we're talking about some heavy stuff, and but um, we got the Ten Commandments. It starts up with other things, but we got the Ten Commandments going on over here. Just kind of important, whatever. I mean, just the Ten Commandments. I mean, whatever. It's kind of how it all started, right? We have the Shema, right, and that's what I want to focus on. We have it's just fully loaded. It's amazing. We have the idea of teaching the next generation is in this week's Torah portion. When your kids ask you questions, you got to answer them, right? Really important stuff. There's tenets of Judaism that are here. Many of the rabbis of the generations, they take some proofs from here about the validity of Judaism, validity of Torah. I mean, it's just heavy hitting. So what I wanted to focus on is the Shema, because I think like was what we were talking about before we started recording. There's a major energy to the Shema, and it's really the theme of Tisha Bav, which we came off this week. Is called Shabbos Nachamu. It's the Shabbos of consolement, of consolation. That things are going to be good. A Nachamu, right? There's going to be comfort. The Shabbos of comfort, and one of the main themes that the world focused on this year is how October 7th brought us together, but unfortunately we're slowly drifting apart, finding ourselves back to our bad habits. And so how does the Shema help us with this? What does the Shema tell us that helps us deal with this challenge of drifting apart? So let's just look at some of the words and the translations of it, and it's so powerful. The Shema starts off, we could spend hours just on the first verse, the main verse, right? The verse that we say, the verse that's expressed by soldiers on a regular basis. It's expressed by somebody on their deathbed. It was expressed by Jacob and Joseph when they met for the first time in 22 years, right? Jacob said the Shema, Yosef did not, but Yaakov says the Shema. What is so essential about the Shema sentence? So I think for us, for this year, right, for all the time, obviously, but we'll bring it out this year. It says, Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel, right? Literal translation. We are making an announcement, a proclamation. We are calling all Jews, everybody, every Jew, right? It's not just we're talking to ourselves, talking to our family, talking to our relatives, our neighbors, those in our synagogue, right? It is a proclamation. It is a statement to all of the Jews. Everybody is included in this. So right away, we see this concept. We need to be together. We're all in on this. This is for all of us, whatever or wherever somebody is in their Judaism. The statement is the recognition that I am speaking to others and I am part of something big. I am part of this Yisrael. You know why? Because Hashem Elokeinu, we have our God. We have our God. And guess what about that God? Hashem Echad. That Hashem is one. What do you mean Hashem is one? So the way we've always talked about it over the years, Mr. Shapiro and I have spent time on this, right? It gives us two expressions of God's name. Hashem or Adonai, that name, and the Elokeinu name. These are two expressions of God, the way that God interacts with the world. One of mercy, one of strict justice, strict din, we call it din, right? Strict judgment. And you know what? There's moments, and the way that we interact with the world, moments that we're feeling. Sometimes those moments are moments of love, moments of mercy, moments of recognition of God's bear hug. Then there's moments of darkness because it seems so strict, and God's judgment's upon us. Those two expressions of how God interfaces with the world, guess what? That's not different gods. That's Hashem Echad. That is the one and the only God. Do not think like other nations think, and others express. There's different gods, different powers, different energies, right? That's not what it is. Both of these things, the merciful moments, the loving moments, the moments where we can see bright and bold, we see God in front of us, we feel the kiss, we feel the love, we feel the connection, and those moments of darkness where we don't see it, it hurts, right? Those moments of darkness, that's all the same Hashem. Because God's one, because everything that God does is for a reason and has purpose. Nothing can happen without God allowing it to happen, wanting it to happen, needing it to happen. That's this expression. And we're all part of that. We're all part of that world. We're all part of this family. We're all part of having what unites us, the listen Israel, all of Israel. Guess what? We all have one Hashem. We all have one God. And that makes us all, brings us all together. That's the opening paragraph, opening line. We can spend a long time on that, but that's the opening. That itself is enough to talk about. But I wanted to jump into one other component, which we just mentioned offline before. Let's go to the first paragraph of the Shema. The first paragraph says, "They all have to," right? We should love Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavecha. You should love Hashem b'chol levavecha, with all of your heart, u'v'chol nafshecha, and all of your soul, u'v'chol me'odecha, with all of your resources. And then it continues. But right over here is the expression where we learn that somebody should go ahead and be willing to give of their life for God. We read about it on Tisha Bav, how Rabbi Akiva was excited because finally he read these verses all his life, trying to understand what it means with all your soul and all of your resources. What does it mean? What's going on over here, right? And the idea is, you're supposed to be willing to give of your life. Be willing to give of your life for Hashem. And finally, Rabbi Akiva, they wanted to kill him for being a Jew, right? They came along and they killed him. And they killed him, and the words that he died with were an expression, an understanding of dying for being a Yisrael. Now, guess what? Let's look at our world. Let's look at our army in Israel. Let's look across the history of the Jewish people. There have been people that have been willing to give of their souls. They have been willing to give their lives. Why? For Hashem. For Hashem. For God. For being a Jew. And it wasn't necessarily the biggest tzaddik, the most righteous, highest person ever. Yes, there were many of those that were these great tzaddikim, these great righteous ones, the leaders of the nation. Everybody's watching the rabbi, right? And what's he going to do? Is he going to give him? Is he going to convert to Catholicism, or is he going to allow himself to be burned at the stake? Right? What is he going to do? Well, everybody's watching. Okay, the big tzaddik does that, but it wasn't just big tzaddikim. Because Judaism, who we are as a people, is made up of everybody. Every member of that army, every member of the Jewish people, whether they're leaders of the Jewish people in a positional standpoint, from a positional standpoint, or they might just be a wonderful person who's doing the do, who has a beautiful connection with God, and they're being forced to make choices. Make choices to live for their Judaism or to go what the rest of the world is doing. And that is for everybody. That is not just the people that are doing this or they're doing that and they follow every mitzvah in the Torah and they study lots of Torah and they go to services on a regular basis and they keep kosher and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. There's people that don't even know how to learn Torah. But when they give up for their Judaism, they give up their lives. Whether they're actually physically giving up their lives, might be giving up their emotional life, might be giving up their spiritual lives, right? The world that they live in. I know teenagers that they make choices to express their Judaism in school or not. That's a big deal. And that's high level. That's high level. And they don't know so much. They're not so learned. And then maybe go to services a few times a year, if that. They might not even really know what does kosher even mean, right? They may not know so much of it, but they have this unbelievable relationship with Hashem, with God, and they're proud Jews. And if you were to ask them really to try to pinpoint exactly what it is, some might be able to express it, and others might not. But those individuals, the Shema is telling us, the Shema is speaking to everybody. It's speaking to every single Jew. And it brings us all together because of our relationship with Hashem and the recognition, right? I mean, I gain so much inspiration. I gain so much inspiration when I spend time with people that are struggling. You know, when people call me that they're struggling about certain aspects of their Judaism, and for me, it's a given. Of course, I mean, I would never do such a thing, or I never even thought about doing such a thing. I didn't, you know, I grew up that way, or wouldn't even cross my mind. But they're struggling through it. That is unbelievable. It's amazing. Everyone has their thing that they're currently working through, right? If we're trying to be growing people, we've given thought. We have aspects of our Judaism. We have aspects of our relationship with Hashem. We have aspects of the way that we interface with the world, right? Because of our Judaism, right? Judaism is the factor that makes it challenging, and we try to overcome it, and we're working on thinking of ways to do it. A person has a character trait about themselves that they want to refine. Why do you want to refine it? Why does somebody want to refine a character trait? Okay, it might be helpful with the relationships that they have, right? Well, let's say it's not one of those, right? You do something, you feel bad about it, and you're trying to fix it. Why are you trying to fix it? Because you have a relationship with God, your relationship with Hashem. That struggle that one's going through is giving of one's life for their Judaism. You are putting yourself in an uncomfortable place. You are working hard. We are working hard to become better people because we want to bring more of God into our lives. We want that relationship with Hashem. And it's not easy to see that in the world that we live in today. The world hides it. The world struggles with it. It's embarrassing, right? Even for myself, just in the hospital. Right. So I was going to do my services. When I do my services, even in the hospital, I thought for a split second, like, I'm sitting in a Jewish hospital. But none of my nurses or doctors were Jewish. They all were of different faiths. Some were not necessarily excited that I was a Jew, probably. But it was time to put on my tallis and my tefillin because it was time to pray. And I was like, oh, I'm going to quickly move through my davening pretty fast. And then I was like, I have nowhere to go. I'm stuck in the hospital. Why am I davening fast? Why am I doing my services fast? I'm by myself. I got a lot to talk to Hashem about. I'm sitting here and don't know how long I'm going to be here, how I'm going to feel. Is the medicine going to work? Is it not going to work? Am I going to need surgery on my stomach? Not need surgery. I'm like, I got a lot to talk to God about. Why would I rush to my services? Because someone might walk in the middle and I'll be looking funny because I'm wearing my tallis and my tefillin? No. Guess what? There's a mezuzah on the door in that hospital room, right? But it crossed my mind, like, oh, let me go a little faster, right? Instead, what do I usually do? I tell the nurse or tell the nurse's station, I'm going to be doing my services now. I need some time. If someone comes in, I'm going to be doing my services. I probably will not respond. But even that little thought of like, what am I going to do? We call it the chedrei chedarim in the private, right? In my own, in the inner room. I'm by myself. Nobody's looking. Nobody's seeing what I do, how I do. I struggled connecting with Tisha Bav in the beginning. I really did. Because I gave myself this thought that crossed my mind of like, Tisha Bav, I've already been fasting for 3 days leading into Tisha Bav. Do I need a Tisha Bav? Do I need a Tisha Bav? Sitting in a hospital bed, and I've already been fasting. I've been starving for the past 3 days, right? Do I need a Tisha Bav? I just had my Tisha Bav. And the answer was, of course I need my Tisha Bav. Of course, I need a Tisha Bav. We need a Tisha Bav to remind us where we're at. And this is what Shema does. Shema is for us to reconnect ourselves to it, but to Hashem and our relationship with God and all the beautiful things it says in the Shema, learning Torah all the time, wherever we're going, right? Connecting with Hashem in that way, giving of our lives, and think about all the amazing Jews, right? The people that have struggled over the generations to make hard choices, big choices, and also small ones. And the opening statement brings us all together. Hear, O Israel, all of us. It's all of us. Like we talked last week, we're one big family. We need each other. We're all part of that. Let's take energy from each other, right? And we all are part of it. We're all part of that Jewish nation. And we're all working hard to give of ourselves in our own way. And we need to recognize that about others and appreciate that about others, that their struggle might not be our struggle. And it's not our struggle. We can't really fit into somebody else's shoes. We never really know what they're going through. But look at what they're doing. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I think this is one of the major lessons as we head toward going into the land of Israel. The Torah is reminding us, remember that 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai when you were all together? You were one big nation together like we spoke last week. We're all together, we're all one. And then we express the Shema. The Shema brings us together. We are the Jews, right? We're one big family. And we have that energy to gain from each other, to look to others, to be inspired by others, to make sure we see somebody growing. Wow, he wants to take on an extra mitzvah, an extra stringency. Some people will laugh at that. Look, there could be so many other funny things the guy's trying to do or the girl's trying to do. Look, she's trying to connect to Hashem in a deeper way, deepen her relationship, deepen her Judaism. I'm going to make fun of that? Okay, maybe I think she looks funny when she does that. You know what? Believe me, there's a lot of funny things out there that have absolutely nothing to do with real growth, with real meaning, with real connection, and impacting the world. So I think this is something major to think about. Somebody falls into the world of Ahavta L'Orecha Kamocha, and somebody follows the theme of Tisha Bav, of us growing together. We're all going to, together as a nation, we're heading towards Rosh Hashanah. We're heading towards Yom Kippur, right? That's where we're heading. New year, right? We cannot finish off this year that we've gone through. This year cannot be finished without us seeing more salvations. We've seen a ton, but we cannot get ourselves back to where we were October 6th. We cannot. We must stop it. We must stem it. And we must make sure that we are doing our part to be loving, to be caring, to be thoughtful, right? To be inspired by others and to inspire others. And that's what we need to do. And that's what the Shema teaches us. That's what the Torah portion teaches us. And if we do that, then we will head towards the end of this year and head into a new year and in a whole different way, whole different light. And it'll be absolutely fantastic and phenomenal. So I think these are some of the major lessons of the portion, or at least one part of the portion. So I hope that we can try to inculcate this into our lives and accomplish amazing things in the world.